G'day, it's Ben and Simon from Pumped on Property here. Now today we are so excited to walk you through a brand new granny flat which one of our clients, Danush, and his partner San, who are living in London at the moment, have just finished in Brizzy. Now, if you haven't been through one of these things before, we can't wait to show you how beautiful it looks, how much value it's going to add long term to his position financially, and also how incredibly tenantable or rentable this place is. So Danush and San came to us. Now, they've been living and working in London for quite a while now, but grew up on the beautiful northern beaches of Sydney. Now, they're both working in two of the top 3 law firms globally, and because of that, they are busting their asses off at the moment. They are working hard, and the poor guys have been locked down over there now for almost 10 months in what I would call solitary confinement, a 1-bedroom unit in London. No offense, guys, but using your words. Now, when Danush and San came to us, they were earning great money. They had great savings in the bank, but they really had no plan. And as they said to me, they didn't want to come back to Australia after working literally 100-hour weeks for the last 4 years without anything to show for it. So we sat down and they created a plan which was going to be buying 3 incredibly high quality properties and building 3 granny flats on them. And then also coming back with some good savings in the bank so that when they got back, they could come to Australia and rent for a year, get settled in their careers, and then buy a beautiful home on the northern beaches of Sydney. Now, I know for a lot of people that sounds like a huge amount of activity in a 12-month to 24-month period. But like many of you, San and Danush had been thinking about this for years and years, and they were just finally ready to step up and commit to making this happen.
For sure, and I like the fact that when they get back, these properties are going to give them a really, really strong passive income as well, so it's not going to put as much pressure on their situation. Now, when it comes to the property, we picked this up, the first one up, at the start of 2020 sort of, and it's a beautiful little 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom home, about 20 k's from the Brisbane CBD on a nice big 617 square metre piece of land. Now, he only paid $390,000 for it.
Looking at the average value of that suburb's average home now, and it's $450K this week. It's gone up insane in a short period of time. Now, I'm not sure if that's relevant for his home, but the average when he signed up was about $410K.
Yeah, there's been some short-term movement, which is really nice. Now, we had to step over a couple of hurdles when getting this granny flat built in the backyard, but that's property investing for you, right? There's always some little bumps in the road or a fork in the road that you just got to overcome, and we did, no worries at all. And as we can see, the finished product is absolutely perfect. Now, Danush is going to go to market at around $280, $290 per week for this granny flat, which is going to put his property, this particular property, well and truly positive cash flow. And we've since actually purchased Danush another property, and the granny flat's about to start later this year as well.
So obviously, as Simon said, like as investors, we all face different things. We all face different challenges. A lot of them are in our mind. A lot of them are physical things, you know, like markets change, things like the coronavirus do come through. And that obviously freaked him completely out. I remember so well, I was working from home at the time when the virus was just starting to come through. And obviously they had a bit of a panic because London went into really, really severe and heavy lockdown before Australia did. And obviously running such big companies in terms of the ones that they worked for, you know, there was a lot of fear running through these organizations. And, you know, understandably, because their workload has dropped dramatically as global lawyers throughout this pandemic. So it was a really interesting conversation, but they sort of, what I loved is rode the wave and, like Simon said, bought at such a good time in the market by confronting that fear. Now, the challenges they were facing when they started talking to us were they were completely paralyzed in terms of market and information. They didn't know whether to go and buy the $3 million or $2 million home on the northern beaches of Sydney like a few of their friends were and commit themselves to 30 years of paying that off and not having choices, or to go down the financial freedom route. They also faced a challenge that I did and Simon did, which was because we grew up in Sydney, it took us a long time to believe that somewhere outside of Sydney could actually be worth putting your money. No offense to the guys down there in Melbourne. I know you feel exactly the same way that Simon and I do about Sydney, but it did take them a while to come around to it, especially growing up in $1 million homes on the northern beaches. They also had the challenge that they were extremely time poor. Now, the pandemic helped with that because they were able to work from home instead of quickly ducking into meeting rooms on different time zones. But working from London was obviously hard for them. They couldn't see the properties. They didn't know the Brisbane market. They couldn't drive through and inspect properties. So they had to put that trust in us. The last challenge they faced was obviously this concept of maybe working and partnering with someone like us versus continuing to try and do it themselves from overseas. So to sort of put their mind at ease, some of the things that we were able to help them do was to obviously talk about their long-term plan and their long-term vision and share different ideas based on our own experiences in property. We were able to deeply educate them on the Brisbane market and the Pacific parts of the city that had strong cash flow, low vacancy rates, very high household incomes, good infrastructure, close enough to the city and the beach to get that long-term capital growth they were after as well. And then on top of that, physically go out there and inspect the properties on their behalf using an application that we built a few years ago, which is ridiculously thorough. Like, it creates a 15-page report on each property we inspected for them, along with 50 to 100 photos. So it really put them at ease. It had almost been like they had walked through it themselves. And then to further put their mind at ease, once we'd found the property, we were able to get the town planner, a builder, a building certifier, a property manager, a building and pest inspector, as well as ourselves and themselves and a solicitor to review the property to make sure there were no flags. And if there had been any red flags, we would have simply terminated the property, got their deposit back safely through the solicitor, and then gone and bought another more suitable outcome. So I think that's what enabled them to go from one property now to the second property and soon to the third property, that confidence in the process and having, you know, a series of ones and zeros to make their decision versus emotionally getting caught up with all of the stuff in their world.
Really happy with the end result here, Danush. I can't wait to see the second property, Granny Flat, get built, and then moving on to the third property as well. And mate, can't wait for you and Sam to get back to Australia at some point in time so we can catch up for a coffee or a beer.
Woo!
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
That's cool, bro. Yeah. Oh, sweaty. So sweaty. Oh, that's good. Look at that. So nice, eh? Oh.